it's a hot day.
How's it going, folks? Just a quick video on the California, on the 4Motion, and just what my thoughts are, because I see on the VW California forum and lots of people asking. It's one of the questions that always seems to pop up on whether people should buy the 4Motion or not. And it's to be honest, I'd say it's really a very personal preference. It's probably like the Dyne Audio sound system, because when I did a video on that, people were coming back saying it was a pile of crap and you could get a lot better systems for a lot less money and stuff. And you know, so I think pointing that stuff out to me when I've got it is probably, you know, it's just opinion, because at that stage I bought it, so it makes no difference. But I understand why people say it. So, but I think the 4Motion falls into one of those things. It's like the automatic, it's like the engine size things. They seem to be somewhat controversial, in that people kind of say get the smaller engine or get the manual over the thing. So these things do come down to kind of personal preference. So just to get back to the 4Motion and why did I get the 4Motion? So, well, when I went down through the list of options on what to buy, the 4Motion was one of these options that was there. And my understanding is, so when I opted for the van, I got the 4Motion version. So I'm not quite sure exactly how much the cost was on top. But my understanding from doing the research is that it looks like it's about £2,000. From what I see, or €2,000. I'm not exactly sure. So you're looking at a considerable optional extra to get it added. And I think the drawback was that the additional weight. So it's extra equipment that adds to the weight of the van. So you're probably looking at, I don't know, probably 100 kilos or something like that. I haven't a clue. But it's additional weight, and it's also that you've no spare tire. And what I've done is I've taken a video of underneath the van, and I'll add this in throughout the video. But you've no spare tire, and that's a consideration. So you're kind of trading off what's going to happen if I get if I lose a tire, I get a bad blowout. Can I replace the tire? In preference to, say, having your 4-wheel drive. So that's the trade-off. That's the ultimate trade-off. So there's the cost, the additional weight. So it's the fuel thing. 4-wheel drive, I suppose there's probably wear and tear element, and then there's the whole not having a spare tire. So I kind of weighed up the pros and cons, and obviously I decided that what I do is get the 4Motion. And the main reason being is because it's the option of having, the 4Motion means that it just gives me options. What I want to do, I never wanted to have the van in a situation where I went to somewhere where I couldn't drive in a particular area because of not having the ability of not having 4-wheel drive. So I didn't want to, that was one thing I said, I don't want to come across that kind of issue. The second thing was a safety aspect too, because my understanding is obviously 4-wheel drive, if we are driving somewhere where it's snowy, if it's very rainy, or you have a very wet road, then what you'll want is you want the additional 4-wheel drive. Now I know there's people out there probably going, it makes no difference, and what I would say is that they're probably right, and it probably does make no difference. Do you really need a 4-wheel drive? Will it kind of make a difference in that instance? And I think the thing is, it's sort of peace of mind in that if I'm driving somewhere, and again, this is not a reflection on people who kind of say, I mean, I'm doing it for safety reasons, and then people say, look, I don't think it's needed, and so that's fine. I think that's your decision if you don't want to get the 4-wheel drive because you don't think you need it from a safety aspect. But I think for me, doing long drives, and I do a lot of driving at work, and I've noticed that I had a scare a few years ago when I drove into a lot of water on the surface of a motorway. I'd caught a kind of freak shower and the car aquaplaned slightly. And I just think it just taught me a lesson that you can be quite vulnerable in very wet weather. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to do. And have we used the 4Motion? I think it has. I think we have. So the other day we were up in Glendalough last week, and there was a bit of snow, and I was able to drive to a particular area where there was a bit of snow, and I was able to maneuver the van, and I could tell that the 4-wheel drive had engaged, and that we were able to kind of maneuver, and I could see people doing similar maneuvers. And obviously with 2-wheel drive you might struggle, which we didn't. Now, saying that, 4-wheel drive does not mean that you can drive anywhere, but there's some cool videos of people driving in really, really deep snow with the 4Motion, and they're absolutely able to tear through the snow, that there's absolutely no issues with it. So that's the thing. And obviously then if we go to a site where there's a lot of grass, or if it's very wet, or if we're in some kind of rural roads, I want to know that we have the additional safety thing. So look, they're the main things that I really wanted the 4Motion for. Okay, so what's interesting, I was doing a bit of research on it. What's interesting is that it's all-wheel drive, so we don't control it. And then we have an automatic van, and I think it. My understanding is you're better off having the automatic with the 4Motion. I think that they're the better combination. You probably can get the 4Motion with manual. Excuse me, but it seems to be that if you get the 4Motion, you're better off going with the automatic. And the reason being is because from reading it today is that the van remains front-wheel drive, two-wheel drive if we're driving on a motorway, to save fuel. So the 4-wheel drive is only engaged as the van senses it and needs it, which is an interesting thing. I didn't realise that. So that saves fuel and obviously saves wear and tear on the tyres and so on. But if we come across where it's very wet, or we lose traction in for any reason, so we do a lot of driving on beaches and stuff like that, and the 4-wheel drive senses, it senses, and what it does is it engages the 4-wheel drive. And now, so look, the thing is, have we noticed any difference? Well, I suppose it's hard to say. It's subjective, because we would have to have a van without 4-wheel drive and drive it in a similar situation. So we can't really do a straightforward comparison in that regard. But I have noticed from, say, driving my own car, which is 2-wheel drive, and then driving this, and this is a heavy vehicle, it's about 3 ton or something like that, so driving this around, I have noticed that when we are on grass, the van is very sure-footed. There's no spin from the front wheels and anything like that. That when we go to festivals or any such things as festivals where there's grass and so on, the van just very coolly just drives away, and there's never any kind of issues. So I'd say we do use it in that regard. And again, I am confident that when I drive onto a beach, that I'm confident that I will hopefully won't get stuck. Now, obviously, you can be overconfident. Thinking you have 4-wheel drive will make you probably overconfident. So that's something that I have to be careful of. But because of the expense of the van, I'd never be that risky with it anyway. So look, that's. I mean, I don't know what else more you can say. I think, have we noticed the fuel? Is there extra fuel consumption? Well, the stats would say it in the van that there is an additional extra fuel consumption. But automatic gearbox will drive up the fuel consumption. It's heavier. You 4-wheel drive, all those things. But I think with a van like this, that's the thing. I think when it comes down to decisions around what specs you want, they're the things you trade off, because what you'll say is, I'm going to buy the van, I'm going to pay an extra $2,000 to have 4-wheel drive. It's going to add up, and I did consider all these things. It's going to add to the cost of the van. But saying that, I think in 10 years from now, when I own the van outright, so we'll be paying the loan for 5 years, and then we'll own it outright, and then I don't have to think about it. And then the beauty of it is that the 4Motion is always there. And then I suppose when it comes to trading the van on, if we ever do such a thing, that it will be an optional extra that some people might find desirable enough to pay a premium on. Maybe not. Will we ever get our money back? I'm not sure. So, I mean, that's really it. I can't really say a whole lot more, I don't think. Would I personally recommend that you get 4-wheel drive? Absolutely. I would totally recommend it, because again, I'm a real believer in that having as many optional extras in a van, I think is what you should do. I mean, already I can see things like parking sensors, self-parking. There's trailer assist. There's lots of little bits and pieces that are coming onto new Volkswagen vehicles that I'm kind of eyeballing, that I'd like to see in the California. So I don't know if we'll ever get them. I mean, the fact that we're still operating off the old handbrake, means that there's certain design issues around, obviously, the California, because I know I really don't like. I'm used to it now, having a manual handbrake. But I know from having cars with the automatic handbrake that I much prefer it. And then rotating the seat, the handbrake is a bit of an issue. It'd be so much handier to rotate the driver's seat without that handbrake being there. It was just push button, and it's just a more convenient thing as well. But the point I'm making is that obviously even in the last few years, there's more mod cons and bits and pieces that are making their way into VW vehicles that the van doesn't have. So that's the whole idea then, is that's obviously where you'll trade up and you'll sell the van, because you'll be chasing those mod cons. But at the same time, 20 years down the road, would I change the van? Probably not. I don't think so. I think the idea will be that you see these vans and they're 20 years old, and they're beautiful still, you know, so they look perfect. And you can live without all those little things. So look, I'm gone off topic slightly there, but you get the idea. So look, thanks for watching. If you have any questions on 4Motion, or if there's anything I can help you with, feel free to leave them in the comments. And that's that. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.